Yeah, it's a new day and same old project though. And I was waiting for a call to meet some guys for breakfast, but I went and just kind of knocked out those patches on the inside I was talking about there, and let's see if I can do this. That one right there. So there's no more holes in the backside. And when I get the seam sealer gun out, I'll run over those seams again and we'll slop some black paint under there. So I'm looking around for what else to kind of go and do work on, and metalwork. I want to stick with metalwork until I kind of get all that wrapped up. And I'm kind of looking down the side of this thing, and it is really a meatball hamburger. I don't know what other kind of verbs and adjectives and nouns and pronouns you want to throw at it, but let's just say it is not exactly the most prettiest looking thing. And I'm also trying to decide what I want to do with this. This is two pieces of metal that were seamed together and normally continued right on down there, which it no longer does. So I'm trying to figure out what would be the best solution to that. It needs so much body work in that area. One thing would be to take a piece of 1/8 inch again and just kind of weld it on a angle like that and kind of recreate it. The problem is if you're trying to do the body work going across, you're going to be smashing into a lip and trying to work that corner, and sometimes for me it doesn't work out very well. Let me grab a straight edge, probably give you a better visual of what's happening. And let's put it right where the weld is. We'll start where the weld is, so you can kind of see how much it dances around. I mean, I wouldn't call it terrible, but I would not call it good neither, because you know that's an 1/8 inch right there, easy, more than an 1/8 inch, and then it kind of rolls back. And let's go pick another line. So that gives you an idea. The gap, it's probably touching right there is really what's causing the issue. And then up in the front there, I'll show you what reveal that is. So the floor on the inside is right about here, and this isn't part of the floor, so I think the skin kind of floats a little bit. It feels pretty damn solid when you're hitting on it though, so I'm kind of thinking to grind some of that back, get the dent puller with the studs on it, and we'll, wherever the low spots are, we'll start pulling on those, and maybe we can hammer on the high spots and see if we can kind of straighten it out a little bit. I don't know if there's any Bondo or what's going on in there. Looks like it's all metal to me. Who knows? Who knows till we start grinding. Hope there's some Bondo in there. If there's Bondo in there, that's a horrible Bondo job, right? So that may be the next area we work on. I'm going to contemplate. And the other area is the battery tray, which is under that location. And that's looking pretty soft. And I have a feeling we're going to make one. I got one from Bus Depot. And I probably should take back what I said about Bus Depot as far as them being pretty good, because this last round I was not very happy with them. I asked them if a truck and a bus are the same. So I think the curve is different. I know they are in the early ones. The curve is different in the back corner. And he said no. I think they're the same. Now, that's flat. That's round, so I don't know if that matches or not, but it doesn't look very close to me. We shall see. And they mailed a seal off. They mailed it to Florida. First they mailed a seal. I asked them if everything was complete, that the order would get shipped together. It's one shipping cost, right? So they mailed, I get the invoice on my email, and they mailed off the windshield metal and the battery tray, and back order was the seal. And I'm like, frig. And they have other different, qualities of seals. and they shipped it without contacting me, saying it wasn't a complete order. And I wrote back, said, well, you know, what's the deal? And it says, and it's a month for that to come in. Well, mail me one of the other ones, you know. Why didn't you contact me? It's okay. And I said, well, do me a favor, take care of the shipping too, would you? All right, I will. All right, so they nailed me with shipping again. They didn't take care of me with that after being their fault. And then they mailed it to Florida. And then they wrote and said, oh, we had a problem. We mailed it to the wrong customer, and it will be getting mailed to you from there. So the metal for the windshield was a piece of crap. The tin, I think, is the wrong one. The seal, they didn't, so every piece there was something wrong with it. So I'll give them another shot, but if my next order goes the same way, I think I am going to start looking at different vendors, Just Campers or whatever, for what I need. But also could be just them having a bad day, but we'll see. I was happy with them before, but again, it was probably at least a year and a half is the last time since I ordered from them. Is that a good enough rant? Good, I feel better now. So we're gonna start on either one or the other. We must look at something else too while we're here. I was looking at this rear engine lid, and you would think that there's just bodywork that is over the top of some dents or something, but you know how that's been going on this job, right? That is not just bodywork over some dents. That is just metal that is not there at all. You can even see how they kind of hammered down the window for the plate light. So that would have to be repaired. But being the good hoarder that I am, and it's got a big dent in the center of it. The whole thing's got a... Oh, it's too dark in here to see, but anyway, it's caved in the center. So I went back in the fish bus, and lo and behold, look at that. Almost perfect one. Was the original color of the vehicle too on the inside. And there was actually two of them back there, because I know that one needs one because it took a hit in the back. And when I looked, I figured, well, I'll get another one for that one when that project is ready to go. But there was actually two of them in there, so maybe it was a premonition that I got two early bay window tailgates, engine lids, we'll call it. And there's a difference between early and late. I think it's the same up to 71 or 72. So 68, 69, and 70. 71 are the same, and then they kind of changed. They got wider. But that is the correct one, and that is in almost perfect condition. So I am very happy about that. So that just makes all that poof go away. So again, battery tray. We're working on the metal. One of the two I'm going to get started on, and then I'll turn you on. Well, as you can tell, I decided to work on the side panel because it's nice and easy, and I get to sit on a stool and play with the side of it. And it's been something that on the outside that I've been looking at that's been annoying the crap out of me. So I ground off with a flapper disc a bunch of the primer that was on there, and knocked some of the welds down a little bit. You can kind of see how proud some of them are, you know. And I got a smaller straight edge. And I figure what I'm going to try doing, I'm just going to work on little sections at a time and concentrate on that. And we'll see how the whole big picture comes over. So what we're looking at is, see where it's touching there. And then how great it gets. I don't know if that's showing up or not. There you go. You can see probably right there, it goes to, there's about 3/8 of an inch gap. And I marked it where it touched, where regained touching the sections around it. So basically that's where the lull is, all in there. So I'm gonna go and hook up, and we'll get some studs on here. And we'll start pulling on this a little bit, and we'll see what happens. I have a feeling it's probably oil canned right in this area, that it's kind of popped in and it's gonna pop out in one section. And if that's the case, we may have to try, or I'm going to try doing some shrinking on it to try to reduce this whole section. It's either that or it's just all gobbledygook together. Who knows? Is that a word? All right, let me get on that. All right, so I got some studs on there, and I want to go do some tugging on it. And unfortunately, as I expected, that's the problem. It's oil canned, you know. No matter what you do, it's kind of staying like that. So I think what I'm going to try and do is take a hammer and pull on it and see if I can kind of tap down around the outer circle and see if I can kind of move the material around a little bit. If that doesn't work, then I am going to try to figure out how to do some heat shrinking. And I believe you heat it, you cool it, you heat it, you cool it, kind of deal instantly. And then basically I would think in this circle that this would be the area that needs it. Maybe in here also. But that is a direct result of when you overheat where you weld. Probably would just weld it straight down the whole line instead of tacking, going back and filling different areas in a little time. It just generated too much heat and caused that whole big wave in the panel. But let's try and fix it. So, hammer time. Get it in the hole. Stopped oil canning. Gonna run an edge up on that. Let's see what we look like. We got enough room to get in there. Still quite a bit. Yeah. It's pretty much pulled up around where that one stud is. Right here, it's got a big hump too. I don't know if you guys can see that. Right there, got a big hump in it too. I'm gonna try doing that a little bit more. I'm gonna try tugging on it, tapping on it, tapping, and see if it'll do one of those. I'm not giving it much hope. I don't know until I try. All right, so I think I'm gonna go try putting some heat and then cooling the panel, and see if I can do some shrinking on it. Yeah, I'm gonna try using a stun gun. And the stud gun, not stun gun, has two different tips. There's one with the hole in it for the pins to weld on, and then it has one with a little rounded nose there. And the idea between that is it just generates heat between here and here and makes a hot spot, and then you try cooling it off. So I've never done it before, so I figure it'd be a good opportunity to go try that. And so I'm gonna go set you up, and we'll see how that makes out. All right, so I'm set up. Right where that black circle is a high spot. I think we'll try working on that and shrinking it in that one area and see if that does anything for us. And I got a wet rag, kind of go and cool it down. Let's go and see what happens. I don't know if it's doing anything.
Well, I just saw it oil and unoil itself right there. So I don't know if you go for the high spot or low spot. It all depends. I don't know where it's pushing from. Let's go and try right here. It actually does look better. Let's try it on a low spot. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, let's go for it right there. Not getting you wet, so you can get closer too. Can you see how it's kind of kicked in a little bit? Let me redunk the rag. Scared you, didn't it? This definitely looks like it's in further. I would say it's a marked improvement. I mean, they both are still favoring what they were, you know. That's still in some and that's still out some. But I guess I'm just trying to get the metal to have some room to go, because down this whole panel it's kind of doing a wave just because it, you know, all this is compressing around that. So I don't know what the routine is where you got to try to hit to help other areas out, so I'm just going to go around and keep poking at it and see if we can get rid of that. So I'm kind of thinking I got too much metal here, so I'm going to try and do the same thing around here and grind some more paint off of around it and see if we can kind of shrink up the metal around it and see if that'll give it the capacity to relax. Okay, that's my plan. Alright, so I seem to find that chasing the highs seems to be the best way to go. So from there down to about where the weld seam is pretty good, and then after that it's, you know, it's ridiculous again. So it's high there, and this is all kind of low. The stud gun hit the breaker on it, so I tried using the torch and heating an area with a torch and doing it. Don't do that. That don't work. So I am going to try and put some studs on the low spots and tug out on the low spots and see if that will help. Up top was pretty easy because there was a couple of areas that were low. I just came back with there's a 2x6 inside the truck, and I just kind of, yeah, it's all rounded off on the end. I just kind of used that to beat on the areas that were low, kind of bring them out a little bit, and then keep working the highs, and then you know, that's what you get when you're done. All that stuff black sands off, but seems to work pretty good. Again, it's just like anything, you gotta figure out what doesn't work and what does work on your own, kinda. So again, let's get some studs on here and try tugging out on some of these areas and see if that center will pull out. Basically, we're gonna have that high there and that high there, and see if we can make this area kind come out to that dimension. It's come to that point in the show where I forgot where I left off. So I just have been beating and heating and pulling and tugging on this paint all over the place, and we are looking good from there down to where the weld mark. I am within, I'm going to say I'm within 1/8 of an inch, and then down into the studs I look pretty good. I took 2/3 of it out, I want to say. Here's where you see that seems to be an issue, is that gap there. This is kind of like a frame channel, and it's all welded on the backside and boxed in. It's not like really what need to be done is cut it free and pull the whole thing out. You can see it's actually on an angle. And then the fender comes back out to the correct level. Actually, the fender was coming out way past the correct level. And I kind of curled that in so that it's at least flush. So I think I'm probably going to leave that like that. It took a couple of ripples in the lip after I did it, if they're showing up. But what I'll do is I'll slice them, hammer them flat, and weld them again. Just too much material to weld it in the wrong spot. So you pound it and it's got to give somewhere, and that's where it gave on the lip. So I think when the body work's getting done, I'm just going to kind of curve it into the front and in the back. And I don't know if it's supposed to be like this or not. I couldn't tell you. All this looks pretty flat in through here, but you start getting to the rear, of course now it opens up, but what's happening is the rear right here kind of is flaring out. Whether it's supposed to be like that or not, I don't know. I don't think it is, but I guess if it looks, I mean, you've got nothing to compare it to. Another bus next to it, you'd be able to tell, but if you don't know, you're not going to know, right? The other spot is low, is going to be right here. That's kind of tucked in too far. So I'm going to see if I can pull out on that a little bit. You can see this needs to go in. These two pieces need to change location a little bit, and that may help straighten out that line. But the stud welder slash heat gun seems to work quite well, as far as I found that I got to keep hitting it on the high spots, and that seems to do the trick. Unless it's really ridiculous. I mean, if it's just physically welded out too far, no matter how much material you try to shrink over here, it's just not going to do it. It's just way too much metal. So I think the next area I'm going to try working from front to the back. You kind of see where this big weld is, and you can see how this is recessed under it. So I just hit that again with a grinder, and I figure we're going to go put a bunch of studs right there, and then I'm going to pull on that while I hammer on this end and hammer on this end and see if we can kind of work that corner out. That may or may not be welded to something behind it. I'm not sure. So if it is, it's not going to move. But I have a feeling they just kind of hammered it with the pick end of the hammer and just kind of recessed it when they were welding it. You know what I mean? If the gap was open, they just kind of beat it to meet the other one and welded it solid. All right, so let me get some studs on that and give her a shot. So I look like a porcupine a bit. Getting tired. So I think we kind of leave this well enough and alone. It's got some waviness. There's a section there and a section here. So you run your hand up in the primered section. You can feel 2 divots in there. Then about here it gets good. So that's how high the filler would have to go to get rid of it. On this one, unfortunately, it's all the way up to about right there. You know, from distortions down there, unfortunately the ripples go up to about right there. You can kind of feel it. Right here is a high and a low on each side. So I may go play with that on another day, grind some more of the primer off and maybe try shrinking some of this and pulling on this or whatever. But worst case I can fill it, but just try to get as much as I can out of it. This just feels like a bunch of little tiny ripples now, which is, I guess, good. Again, it's never going to get perfect. It's not like you're trying to pull a dent out that happened in an accident. You're trying to pull a dent out that's welded in the wrong spot, so it just fights you totally different than you know, a normal repair, I guess, would be. So it is definitely a lot straighter and rounder too. A lot of it was flat going down, especially in the further away section where you see they're in rows. That was almost dead flat, so I kind of gave it a round section again, and when I did that, it kind of pulled, like all this was sitting out too high, and then when I pulled here and I pulled here, it allowed everything to kind of even out a little bit better. But we'll have at it again. Keep going. That's my choice, right? As far as this guy, I've decided that I'm going to leave it the way it is for now. Do all the roughed in body work with the board sander and get it as level as I can, and then I'm going to dig the Bondo out that's in this area right here. Then I'm going to weld in a piece of metal going down to recreate the gap, and then body work back up to that. I figured that would be the best way of getting a as level a look as possible. So, because if I welded that in ahead of time and tried, you know, doing the body work up to it and then doing the body work up to it, it's hard to come off of that lip and then make a perfectly flat panel, especially everything around it's all so distorted. As it is, I'm gonna have to do it up here, you know. But so maybe for the rest of the day, I may just grind what I have for pins off of here and take the flapper disc and try to knock down some of these welds that you see like there and there that don't need to be there, and revisit it, you know, because sometimes the visual isn't really what's happening. It looks like something, but you run your hand over it, something different, and it's kind of hard to run your hand over it with you know, it being a porcupine. So that's it for now.